So good morning and good afternoon to everybody. Good evening as well. Alma reading room functionality. It's now 8 February 2022. This is Yoel Kortic, Senior Librarian at Ex Libris. And as we've advertised, as it states on the screen, we'll be discussing the reading room, what it is, how it's set up, and how it works. Anybody who has any questions or comments, send them in the chat. We'll be checking the chat periodically. And we encourage you, if you have any comments or questions, to send them in. And anything you send in will be completely anonymous. Only we ex Libris will know who sent it. We won't say, Tom Smith sent in this question. So everything is anonymous. So, Alma reading room functionality. Before we go into Alma, which the majority of the session will be inside Alma, but before that, let's just talk about what is the reading room? Why would somebody have a reading room? And most institutions do have some type of a reading room. It's not always a room with four walls and windows and a door. Sometimes it's just an area. But the functionality of the reading room is quite popular, despite the end of the print world that they've been talking about for years and the increase in electronic. A real reading room where people take books or other items, usually books, leave them there. That's the functionality that is still used. So really, the third bullet here is the real basis of the reading room. A patron gets an item. He or she wants to leave it somewhere in the library so that he or she can come back tomorrow, use it again without it getting all returned to some shelf that they need to go find it, etc. It comes to the reading room. The person reads it, uses it, gives it back to usually a librarian at a desk with a shelf behind him or her, leaves it there. They come back the next day, they take it again. That's usually what happens in the reading room. The item is requested to go to the reading room, and then it's used. It's in Alma, it can be returned not final and returned final. And we'll see what that means. In general, return to not file means they want to keep using it and leave it in the reading room. The setup. Let's jump right into the setup. So the reading room is a circulation desk, really. And it's a circulation desk with two parameters, or one parameter that's different than other reading rooms, and another parameter which exists in other reading rooms but is required for the reading room. But let's take a look. So I went into configuration here, and I want to go check out the circulation desks for one of my libraries. And I will filter here by, in my case, the main library. And within the main library, I'll go to fulfillment and circulation desks. So now I'm seeing here all of the circulation desks that I have in my institution. And I have two reading rooms set up here. One is called the general reading room, and one is called the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. And we're going to be using the Thomas J. Safransky reading room in our example today. So let's take a look at it. And if we look at it, we'll see how is a circulation desk defined to be a reading room. So let's open that up. I'm just going to check the chat periodically. I don't see any chats. Okay, great. All I see is okays and yeses, so that's good. All right, and more people are still joining, I see. Okay, so first of all, we've got here the third field here, name primary, and then reading room desk. For this circulation desk to function as a reading room, this needs to be checked. That's step number one, define it as a reading room. Step number two, it has to have a hold shelf. So that's not unique to a reading room. However, it's mandatory for, excuse me, it's not unique to a circulation desk, but it's mandatory for a circulation desk, which is a reading room. I would say most circulation desks, I've never done formal statistics, but I would say most circulation desks probably have a hold shelf. Most places where items are loaned also deal with patron physical item requests, but we'll leave that for another day. In any case, a reading room has hold shelf checked. And of course needs to be defined as a reading room desk here. Those are the important parts for our purposes here. Maximum time on hold shelf, I've got here 10. Later on, we're going to see somewhere where that appears. That just means, like other circulation desks, which are not reading rooms, what happens to an item that has been requested, goes on the shelf, patron gets notification, but doesn't come to take it. But that's not unique for us. Okay, like all circulation desks, the reading room circulation desk also needs a physical location, at least one physical location, because if you don't have a physical location attributed to the circulation desk, then you don't have any items that you can loan at that desk. So here we've got a location which is called the Thomas J. Safransky Collection. That's what's defined as a location in Alma, the Thomas J. Safransky Collection. And that's attributed to this circulation desk. Then, of course, we've got the operators. That's the users who can use this. That's not unique to the circulation desks. And we've got our printing rules. So that's the setup of the circulation desk, which is a reading room. And now we're going to close that. Let's just pop back to the PowerPoint. Make sure we covered anything which is significant. So we went to the circulation desks by going to configuration, fulfillment. We chose the library and the circulation desks. We saw that we had 2 circulation desks which are defined as reading rooms. We saw that it's mandatory that the reading room desk checkbox is checked. We saw that it's mandatory that a reading room circulation desk has a hold shelf. We saw that it's mandatory, or let's say logical, that a circulation desk will be attributed to a location. Otherwise, it's kind of useless to have a desk that's not dealing with any items. And that should do it. That means we've covered everything. Okay, so now this is the location. All right. Also, what's mandatory, but again, not unique to a circulation desk, which is a reading room, is that the location be part of a fulfillment unit. Because we need that these items can be requested, and we need that these items can be loaned, because an item is requested to the reading room. The patron finds and discovering an item. We're going to do this, request it, and it goes to the reading room. Excuse me. So this location, the Thomas J. Safransky Collection, let's go take a look at it. I'm already in the main library here, so I'm going to go to physical locations. And let's go get the Thomas J. Safransky one. I will say Thomas J. Safransky. There we go. Here it is. And let's take a look. So first of all, I want to point out, because we're going to see this later, the external name of this location has in it items must be requested. So the name is the Thomas J. Safransky Collection. There's something called an external name, which is the name of the location as it appears in Discovery. There's a few other places where you can play around with that, by the way, but we'll save that for another day. Publishing, perhaps, but we'll save that for another time. So note that it says items must be requested here. And that's a topic that actually came up in this morning's session. We're giving this session twice. Someone wanted to know, how can I make it visible to the end user that the item must be requested? And that's how. It's using a fulfillment unit, which is also called the Thomas J. Safransky collection location. That's the name of the fulfillment unit. We can see that in a moment as well. And that's all that is unique for our specific situation here. If we want, we can go briefly look at that fulfillment unit, although it's no different than any other type of fulfillment unit. If I go to the fulfillment units, here it is. And this means that anything in that location uses this fulfillment unit, which means it uses these fulfillment unit rules, which means it's a 1-week loan because I have one loan rule, which says if the location is the Thomas J. Safransky location, use the terms of use called 1-week loan. But we're not going to do a whole in-depth analysis of fulfillment unit rules. But you can see here is loanable for 7 days. And of course, we also need that the item will be requestable. So again, here we have the request rules and one basic request rule that says if the location is the Thomas J. Safransky collection, then use a terms of use called requestable for pickup in the reading room, and that says it's requestable for pickup in the reading room. Okay, so everything is set up. We're ready to jump into Alma and start using it. This is just, I'm looking at the PowerPoint now. That's just what we showed live, that it's requestable, loanable, and now let's jump right in. So I'm just going to close the PowerPoint now altogether. I don't want to go in there anymore. We're just going to pure Alma. So now if a end user comes into Primo, let me go into my Primo demo here, and finds an item that is in that location, then he or she will see that it has to be requested, requests it, and then it goes through the request process, more or less like a standard request process for item, a few differences which we're going to point out. So first of all, I will log in as our favorite patron, Alicia Chen. Most of you know her if you have been in previous sessions. And just so we get an example of an item, I'm going to come into Alma and do a search here for physical item location equals main library and Thomas J. Safransky collection, QRST, yes. Just so I have something in there that I can search for in Primo. Selected poems by Gwendolyn Brooks. That sounds like a good one. I'm going to take this with me so we have it already. Okay, so I'm going to go over now to Primo, and we will search for selected poems Gwendolyn. Let's see if I know how to spell Gwendolyn. That should do it. We'll find out in a minute if I spelled it properly. I got a little space over there. Let's get rid of the space, and let's say in the library catalog. Okay. All right, so first of all, I see that it's available at the main library in the Thomas J. Safransky collection. Items must be requested. That's what we saw previously in the external name of the location. So now I'll click that, and I see the item. And in the Get It tab, I have the option here to request it. Again, it says items must be requested. I click request, and it says automatically pick up location, the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. And I'll say send request. And your request was successfully placed. I'm going to log out of this person. Log in as another person. I want to get two requests going simultaneously because for my purposes, I want to show different ways that we can handle the requests, or more exact, different ways we can handle the loaning and returning of the items after the patron already comes to the reading room and takes it. So I want to have two going simultaneously. So now I'm gonna, you know what? I'll do it in another browser even. So I'll have them both going. So I'm gonna go back into that Primo demo. And this time I'll log in as someone else. I'll sign in. Oh, sign in as Bjorg. Okay, log in. And Bjorg will sign in, well, excuse me, search for, let's get another example here. The myths of security. Okay, what the computer security industry, I guess I can use that one. I try to make sure my examples are safe. That seems all right. The myths of security. So the user is logged in, searches, myths of security. Library catalog. Okay. And let me throw in the name of the author. That'll cut things down. There we go. So here we go. And I will say request. Actually, let me take another one. I see I found one with that has items in different libraries. Domain modeling based. Okay. Domain modeling based. Just so I got a clean example here. It's not going to say, oh, there's another item, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here we go. And so now I'm user Bjorg. I'm logged in and I say request. Again, it says items must be requested. So I know I'm not going to go try to find it on the shelf myself. Pickup location hard coded to the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. Send request. Great. So now both of these users, if they were to go into their library card of their requests, will see this request. Bjorg sees domain modeling based software for pickup in the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. And here we've got Alicia. And if she goes to her library card to the requests, she will also see hers called. Whoa, look at all the requests she's got. Is this request? Oh, there it is. Selected Poems by Gwendolyn Brooks. That's the one we did a little while ago. This is also a nice one. Big Gilgul Hazeh sound recording. Okay, so now we got two patrons, went into Primo, found something that's part of the reading room, and made a request. I'm going to stop here because I saw that at least one chat came in. And somebody asks, okay, let me take this. I'm going to put it where everybody can see it so it'll be logical. I know sometimes you repeat a question, people aren't quite sure they heard properly. So I'll go into Word here and I will anonymously paste this without the person's name. Let me justify that to the right. I mean, to the left. It already is right. Okay. Does the loan terms of use need to use the in reading room only policy in the is loanable rule? I believe it wasn't in the it was for pickup only in the reading room. Let's go into the terms of use. But the answer is no, it's not mandatory, but it'll make things much easier for you. Because if the item is in the reading room and you want to have it picked up somewhere else, and then loaned somewhere else, you're going to have to make sure that all of your library relations are correct regarding the transit, the scan in, goes back on the shelf somewhere else, gets loaned, gets returned, goes back. Put it that it can be picked up in the reading room only. But let's go take a look at what we saw there. I'm going to go back to the configuration, back to the fulfillment. I'm going to start at my fulfillment unit, which is the Thomas J. Safransky collection. I called everything the Thomas J. Safransky, so I know that's always the one that's dealing with that location. And you can see here it's got that location. So I have a loan rule that says if the location is the Thomas J. Safransky collection, use this terms of use called 1 week loan. The terms of use called 1 week loan, it says it's loanable. It says when it's going to be, when the item is due, if it's going to have a different due date when there's a different request on it. Here, it's a standard, like anything else, terms of use. But if we look at the request rule, that one says if the location is the Thomas J. Safransky collection, now we're going to say a terms of use called requestable for pickup in reading room. And that one, I'm going to open this in editing mode so we can look at it a little nicer and see the other options. So I will get the name of it, requestable for pickup in reading room. And I'm going to go directly to my terms of use and I'll get the name. Boom. Okay. So here we've said pick up only in reading room, must pick up in the owner's reading room. I could have said something else, but that would defeat the whole purpose of using the reading room. If this would be picked up in the main library or the law library circulation desk, I won't be able to use the functionality, which we haven't yet seen, of the reading room. Because if you recall, my circulation desk had that check mark that it's a reading room circulation desk. So I could choose a different pickup location, but it would make the whole idea of using the reading room irrelevant. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Let's go on. So now we're in Alma. Okay. I'm going to switch to the reading room circulation desk. I'm in the resource sharing desk right now because before this session we were doing something else here. So I will switch to the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. And now if I go to my pick from shelf list, pick from shelf, which again is not unique to the reading room. I've got 3 items, and if I facet this one to today, request date today on the top left, so I see now both items that were requested. And let's select them all and print a slip report. And now somebody goes and takes this print slip report, goes to the shelves and gets the item and brings it to the circulation desk to scan it in. Or they took their laptop, or they took their tablet with the list, or their iPhone, or their mobile phone, I should say. Okay. So now we're going to scan those in. This is the list here. Okay, great. So I've even got the barcodes. I will actually, just so I've got everything here, I will get rid of these. Okay. So now I'm not going to have to look for the barcodes all the time. So we're going to scan these in now. And someone went to the desk. excuse me, someone went to the shelves, got the items, comes back with the cart, and we scan them in while I'm here at the desk. So we'll say fulfillment, scan in items. And I'll scan in the first one. Boom. And it says it's a patron physical item request for Bjorg. It's on the hold shelf, of the reading room. I'm in the reading room. Then I'm going to scan in the next one. And this one is for Alicia. Also goes on the hold shelf. So now I'm in the reading room. I scan them in. I put them on the shelf and wait for the patron to come. Patron, meanwhile, got a message. I happen to have the email of Alicia and of Bjorg. So here we got the on hold shelf letter, and here's the one to Alicia. You can see 0 minutes ago. It's from Sent Right Now. So she's got selected poems. By Brooks Gwendolyn is ready, can be picked up at the Thomas J. Safransky Reading Room. Bjorg, that also came in 0 minutes ago. And she's got her message that, let's get that open, that the domain modeling based software engineering, a formal approach, is available and can be picked up at the reading room. So they come now to the reading room. I'm going to delete that and that in case we send it again. Okay, then we'll have a fresh one. So they come to the desk now and want to loan it. Let me just check the chats here. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So while I'm at this desk, we'll say fulfillment, managed patron services. We'll start with Alicia. And, oh, I don't even remember which one she loaned. I can go over here and see it in the requests. Which one she requested, I didn't remember. Selected poems by Gwendolyn Brooks. Okay, so she comes and she wants this one here. And we loan it. And she's using it now in the reading room. Then we've got Gwendolyn Brooks selected poems for Bjorg. And we loan that to Bjorg. Okay. So now both items are loaned in the reading room. Now we're going to see what is unique to the reading room. I'm at the reading room desk, and this goes back to the person who he or she asked about if the terms of use needs pickup in reading room only, etc. If we were taking that item and using it at a different location, loaning it at a different desk, we would not have the functionality that we're going to see right now. So if I come to fulfillment here, I have the active hold shelf, which is everything that's waiting, but it also includes held by patron. Both of these items were loaned now to the patron. So I'm coming into the active hold shelf, and I have 3 tabs: waiting for pickup, held by patron, and on shelf not final. If I were in a different circulation desk, I'm just going to choose the art library just as an example. If I go to fulfillment active hold shelf, all I have is the active hold shelf. But because in the reading room, I'm loaning these requested items and they're staying there, I've got the 3 tabs. One tab for everything which has been requested, one thing which has been returned not final. We're going to see that in a minute, and everything that is being used right now. Let's go back now to the Thomas J. Safransky reading room. And let's say now that Alicia and or Bjorg return their items. They come to the desk and say, here, I want to come back tomorrow and continue using it, or later in the day. So one option is I can say, receive from patron. It's as if she returned it to me. Now it's on the on shelf not final tab because she returned it but not final. I could do the same here for Alicia and do receive from patron. However, another option is to do return items. And again, I have something unique here. I can return it as final or not final, unique to the reading room. If I return it as final, then we're all done. It just goes back to the shelf. Patron doesn't get it anymore. If the patron wants it again, they got to go make a request and go through the whole process. If we say not final and loan it, now it's still going to be in the reading room. And if we go to fulfillment, manage patron services, fulfillment, the active hold shelf, both of those items are now in the tab here of on shelf not final because they're still being used. I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions right now. Okay, somebody asked, let me take this with me and paste it into Word. It's also easier for me to read it in a larger font. Okay. So let's paste that in here. Oops. Let me justify that. I got default right to left justification. All right, referring to the hold shelf notification, picked up could be interpreted to mean that the patron can leave with the item. Can that language be different for reading rooms? Yeah, theoretically, you could make that different for reading rooms. You'd have to do a condition in there, an if test, if library name, circulation desk name equals whatever, then whatever. By default, it's the same letter. But you could play around with the XSL in there. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, there's another question here. I'm also going to get that PowerPoint again. Okay, great. Because there is something in here I want to point out. Open. So let me get this question and paste. How do you keep patrons from choosing the reading room as a pickup location for other items? If by other items you mean items of another location, it won't appear as an option depending on the setup of your fulfillment unit rule in terms of use. I, for example, had only that option. So like I couldn't choose pickup location medical library, for something in the medical library, you can define what the pickup locations are, and therefore somebody wouldn't choose the reading room. Okay. Let's go on. In every session, we always have, not just this session, there's always, not just in this session, anytime there's a documentation or there's a webinar or there's some type of instruction, there's always how much further should we go into another area? So we could go in depth into defining the terms of use and the pickup locations, etc., and the relationships between the libraries, but that's how it's done. But within our context here, we're not going to delve in depth of the setups there. But for every circulation, for every library, you can define how those items can be loaned and requested, and part of that whole process includes the pickup locations. Okay, let's move on. So now, let's say they come now, they left them over the night, and they want them back. So they come to the desk and say, hi, I want my domain-based modeling, and depending on how I manage things, I might say, oh, show me your ID, or I could just click here, loan to patron. So if we say Bjorg came now and she wants it, I'll say, okay, here you go. I clicked loan to patron. Now that went to the held by patron tab. I could also, although it might be extra work for me, depending on how I want, maybe if I took it off the shelf and just want to put it in the barcode scanner, I could come here to manage patron services and loan it to the patron. And boom. And now she's got it. And if we go to the active hold shelf, so now both of them are held from patron. So in summary, the held by patron tab is all of those items that are in the reading room that a patron is sitting somewhere in the reading room at one of the desks using. The on shelf not final are items that the patron has returned, as the name suggests, not final. They'll come back either later in the day or tomorrow or another day and continue using it. So it's not final. To move something from the held by patron tab to the on shelf not final tab, we can either do receive from patron and then it moves to the on shelf not final, or we could do a return and say not final. A return, and I'm choosing here not final. And then it goes into the active hold shelf not final tab. And then we saw also I can move it back to the held from patron either by clicking here to loan it to the patron or doing an actual loan like we always do. When the patron is all done, no longer wants to use this, then we can return it and say fulfillment, return items, and unlike what we did before, now we will say final, and that's it. And I'll return the other one, also final. Now nothing will be in my active hold shelf. There are no requests waiting for pickup. Nothing is now being held by the patron, and nothing is on the shelf waiting for the patron to come back and continue to use it. I'm just going to glance at the chat. Don't see anything. Here's the PowerPoint. Let's just make sure we covered everything there in the workflow. Okay, so an end user finds something in Primo, in Discovery, which is in that location, and they click it and they request it. It's for pickup at the reading room because it's defined, as we saw in my terms of use, that's the only legal pickup location. The request gets placed. We can see the request. We didn't look at it in the Alma interface. We saw it in Primo in the user card. Then we went to the pick from shelf list. We printed out the pick from shelf list, went to the shelf, got it, and scanned it in at the desk. It said on hold shelf. We went to the active hold shelf. We saw that it was in waiting for pickup. We did one for Bjorg, one for Alicia. Bjorg and Alicia came, picked up the item after they got the letter. And we saw that we can return it either final or not final. We chose not final, which means it went to the on-shelf not final tab. Then we saw that we can reloan it to the patron if that's what we want. And when it's being held by the patron, we see it there. And when we're all done, we return it as final. Okay. Somebody asked, let's take this one with us. Where am I here? Windward. Okay. So somebody asks, are there special fields values I can use in analytics to see how many things move from patron to shelf? Do I look in the request subject area or something else? I believe you could use it would be the request subject area for the requests, the fulfillment for the loans, but with that, I believe, but let me look. We're not in a rush here. We got a little time. As far as the reading room goes, I believe we added in there. Let's take a look. Create analysis, something about the reading room, the circulation desk. Well, you would know what your circulation desk reading room is in any case. So you would combine the loans and the requests with the location. How many times it keeps going back and forth before the return, that I'm not sure about. But you could for sure you put in here your circulation desk, which is the reading room. And then it would be everything. Reading room desk. Great. I underestimated analytics. I forget everything we've done. So here you'd be able to filter by reading room desk, yes. And then mix that with all of the other measures. I think we got another one here. Hold on a minute. Somebody asks, would the on-shelf not final and waiting for pickup be the same shelf conceivably? Let me put that out here. That's already getting out of the technical part of Alma. If you mean the physical, actual, can I show you a shelf? A physical, like my shelves have plants on them, but if you mean the actual physical shelf, the institution, I assume, would say everything that no one's taken yet, I'm going to put here, and everything that's in middle of being in use, I'll put here. I would assume. But that's already outside of the Alma part. In Alma, we are separating them because we have the three tabs. Ones that are being in use are the not final. We have that tab. And then the ones that are waiting for pickup, we have the waiting for pickup tab. So Alma separates them. What the institution wants to do on their physical shelves, it's their business. I assume for organizational purposes, they would be in separate places. How does it work? Someone asked, how does it work? The item is signed out to reading room desk and someone else requests it. It goes into the queue, just like all of the other requests. Something is being loaned, someone else requests it, it goes into a queue. There's a parameter inside the terms of use which says, do you want to shorten the loan period? If there's a request on it, does it get recalled? It's a whole setup in the fulfillment configurations, and it behaves like other requests. Does the check-in mode maintain a history of the dates, times the patron used the item, or is it just the last one? You may have just answered my question. Okay. Could you demo how to do the final check-in from active hold menu again? Okay. Let's do another example here. I'll go back into Primo and I'm still logged in as Bjorg. I'll do another library search for, what was it called? Domain-based something or other. Domain-based in the library catalog. And I will say held by library. Here we go. Domain-based modeling, etc., etc. Okay. And I will make the request. And excuse me, I will send the request. And we're all done. So I've got the request made. Bjorg, the patron Bjorg, made the request. And I'll go back to Alma. And that was domain-based. I just want to get the barcode of that one. Okay. So we scan that in. I'm not going to go print the shelf, print the pick from shelf list again. I'll say here fulfillment, scan in items, paste. Okay. I've scanned it in. Now we're ready to work. Patron gets the message. Patron comes to the desk. We're ready to work. So I'm going to go look at that question in depth. Back to the chat. So I make sure okay, and someone just asked about getting the link to the PowerPoint, so I sent that again. But let me go get this person's question. Here we go. Nope, not that one. Okay, could you demo how to do the final check-in from the active hold menu again? That's what we're doing now. Boom. Okay, could you demo how to do the final check-in? Do you mean check-in, return? Okay. By the way, the terms check-in, check-out, loan, and return, it's not standard around the world, and it's very confusing. The loan and return always mean the same. The check-in, the check-out, they vary. In any case, I will now loan this. I'm at the reading room. Fulfillment, managed patron services. Bjorg comes to the desks and says, the one that I requested is here. And we loan it to her. Great. Now, that will appear in the active hold shelf. So let me go see the person's question so I answer exactly what they're saying. Could you demo how to do the final check-in? Check-in, you mean return, I'm assuming here. Correct? You can answer me in the chat. Yes, the person said. The final return from the active hold menu again. Okay, so there's two ways. Right now it's held by patron. If I receive it from the patron, it's going to go to the on shelf, not final. Let's do that. Now it's in the on shelf, not final. I could loan it. If I click here, it gets loaned to the patron and goes back to the held by patron tab. Again, receive from patron puts it in the on shelf, not final. Loan to patron puts it in the held by patron. When I want to do the final return, the person is all done using it. I do a standard return and then I choose the special, oh, sorry. I do a regular return and then choose the unique option here of final. This appears only in the reading room. And if I choose final, that's the final. I just want to, before I click it, let me go read this again. The final check-in, yes. So the way to do the final check-in is to go to fulfillment, return items, and make the check-in mode be final. and then it's all done. Now that item will no longer be in my active hold shelf. Nothing here now. Okay, we're getting close to the end, but let me see the chats. I got to make this chat box a little larger so I can read better. Okay. Yes, final returned. Okay, someone says in you. Okay, I'll leave that. I'm not going to read everything before I first scan it myself. Uh, what happens when these items reach their hold shelf expiration date? Okay. uh, this brings us back to the other topic of how far do we go into the fulfillment in general, but when these items, let me put out the question here to make sure everyone heard. When these items reach their expiration date, they will go just like other items that I'm referring now to. They went to the hold shelf, a patron did not come to get them. When that happens, they go to the expired hold shelf, which, if I'm not mistaken, is right here. Yes, they go to the expired hold shelf, and anything on the expired hold shelf needs to get scanned in and put back on the shelf. Or, depending on other setups, goes to the next user. There's a whole mechanism there. But the short answer is it behaves like other requested items whose expiration date on the hold shelf has passed. Could reading rooms be a way? Let's take this as this is going to be our last one here. I'm glad to see there's a lot of interest, though. Could reading rooms be a way to manage library study carrels? If the reading room location equals library carrel, and the items there were the individual carrels, with loan period equals academic year. So your location would be the library carrel. I assume it would be library carrel and you would be covering several different carrels. For those who don't know carrels, those are those desks that usually have big sides and places on top, and research students use them for extended periods of time and leave their stuff there. Theoretically, you could do that. I don't know if you're referring to making every carrel be a separate reading room location, but theoretically that could be done. Okay, maybe we have time for another question because that one was quicker than I thought. Has the link for slides presentation being shared? Apologies. Okay, I sent that again, so everyone should have that. If there's a recall and the loan period is shortened, is the patron notified? Yes. If the item is recalled, just like a regular recall functionality, the patron gets notified. Okay, that one I did. Could you demo that? Okay, I see there's more in. I got to scroll back to the bottom. What I thought, thank you. Okay. Okay, I think we got them all. So thanks a lot, everybody. We'll be posting this recording and sending out a message to everybody that it has been recorded. And we will hopefully see you in our next sessions. So thanks, everybody, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.